My name is Anna Reed. And the day my parents told me I didn't deserve help, something inside me went very, very quiet. They said it at the dinner table, over roast chicken and laughter that wasn't meant for me. Lily, my perfect sister, had just been accepted to study in Paris. Mom cried. Dad toasted, and I just sat there holding my empty glass. When I asked if they could help me pay for nursing school, Mom didn't even look up. You should have made better choices, Anna. That night I decided, if they saw me as a mistake, I'd show them what a mistake can become. Because a few months later, when Lily's dream trip to Paris began to fall apart, it wasn't bad luck. It was me. The morning after that dinner, I woke up to the sound of Lily singing in the shower. Her voice was light, careless, like someone who's never had to fight for anything. Sunlight leaked through the blinds, catching the gold on her new suitcase tags. Paris, they said in looping cursive. I stood in the doorway for a moment, watching the steam curl from under the bathroom door. Then I went downstairs. Dad was already at the table, reading the news on his tablet. Mom was cutting strawberries into a porcelain bowl. Morning, I said. Neither of them looked up. It was always like that now. A house full of sound. And somehow I was the quietest part of it. When I sat down, Mom pushed the bowl toward Lily's empty seat. Don't eat those, she said. They're for your sister, I nodded. I didn't even like strawberries. But it was the way she said your sister, like the word daughter no longer applied to me. Dad finally lowered his tablet. Anna, what are your plans this week? I told him the truth. That I had 2 double shifts at the diner, and that I'd applied for another scholarship at the community college. He sighed like I'd confessed to a crime. You can't keep chasing handouts, he said. At some point, you have to take responsibility. Responsibility. That word hung between us like smoke. I'd been working since I was 16, saving every tip, every dollar. But somehow I was the irresponsible one. Lily came downstairs then, wrapped in a towel, hair dripping, smile shining. She kissed Dad's cheek. Good morning! And just like that, the mood changed. Mom laughed. Dad smiled. Lily sat beside me and started talking about Paris, at the art, the food, the cafes. Every word sounded like music, like possibility. I remember glancing at her passport on the counter, the tiny blue book that meant freedom. My name wasn't in it. That afternoon, I went to work at the diner. The bell above the door jingled as usual, the smell of grease and coffee wrapping around me like a second skin. Most people hated it there, but to me it was honest. You showed up, you worked hard, and you got paid. No favoritism. No comparisons. Hey, Anna, said Carla, my manager. She was 50, tired, but kind. Your sister's the one going to France, right? I nodded, tying my apron. Carla smiled. You must be proud. I wanted to say yes. But pride wasn't what I felt. It was something heavier. Something that didn't have a name. By the end of my shift, my feet ached, and my tips barely covered gas money. When I got home, the house was full of laughter again. Boxes, clothes, luggage everywhere. Mom was helping Lily pack, and Dad was recording it on his phone. I watched from the hallway. No one noticed me. They looked like a family in a commercial. Bright, smiling, perfect. Then Lily turned and saw me. Hey, can you grab my charger from my room? She asked. Not please. Not thank you. Just an order, like always. I went upstairs, found the charger tangled by her vanity. Her perfume filled the air, something floral and expensive. Next to the charger was an envelope with her name written in Dad's handwriting. I shouldn't have looked. But I did. Inside was a check. $95,000. It wasn't just help. It was a future. I stood there staring at the paper, at the neat blue ink that spelled out what I was worth compared to her. 0. When I came back down, Lily took the charger without even looking at me. Mom glanced up and said, "Try to be happy for her, Anna." I said nothing, because the truth was, I didn't know how. That night, I lay in bed listening to them celebrate. The clinking glasses. the soft music, and beneath it all, Lily's laughter, bright and unbroken. 2 weeks later, she left for Paris. I drove her to the airport because no one else could fit in the car with her mountain of luggage. She sat in the passenger seat, scrolling through her phone, humming to herself. "Are you gonna miss me?" she asked, half joking. I smiled faintly. Of course, it was the truth in a way. I would miss who she used to be, before all of this. When we got to the terminal, she hugged me quickly, already looking past me toward the glass doors. "Take care, okay?" I nodded. Then she was gone, swallowed by the crowd, a flash of red coat and gold hair. The drive home felt longer than usual. By the time I parked, the house was dark. Mom had left a note on the counter. "Left for dinner with your father. There's food in the fridge." I stood there staring at her handwriting. Same loops and curves as the check I'd seen. It hit me then. Maybe they didn't mean to hurt me. Maybe they just couldn't see me. That thought should have comforted me. It didn't. The next few weeks blurred together. Work, bills, silence. Lily's photos started flooding social media. The Eiffel Tower, fancy dinners, champagne flutes clinking in candlelight. Mom would show me her posts, smiling. "She's thriving," she said. "Isn't that wonderful?" I'd nod. Smile back. Pretend it didn't sting. Then one night, Lily called me. Her voice was breathless, excited. "Anna, you'll never believe this. I got an internship at a Paris fashion house." I congratulated her, because that's what sisters do. Even when it hurts. Even when you're the one watching from the sidelines, invisible. But after the call, I sat in the dark, phone in my lap, heart pounding. Because something inside me was changing. Not anger, not exactly. Something sharper, clearer. I started keeping a journal, not about feelings, but about details. Dates, calls, bank transfers, passwords. Lily had always been careless with security, and when she'd needed help setting up her accounts before leaving, she'd asked me. I remembered everything. It wasn't a plan yet. Just an awareness that I had access. That ick knew that maybe, just maybe, I wasn't as powerless as they thought. 3 weeks later, Mom called me from the living room, waving her phone. "Did you see Lily's new post? She's wearing a dress worth more than your car." She laughed, meaning it as a joke. But something in me hardened, because she was right. That dress was more than my car, more than my savings, more than the price of my self-respect. That night, as I wiped down the diner counter after closing, I caught my reflection in the glass. Tired eyes, grease-stained apron, and behind it all, the faintest smile, because for the first time, I wasn't sad anymore. I was focused. When Carla locked up, she asked if I wanted to grab coffee. I told her I was fine. But the truth was, I had something else to do. I drove home, opened my laptop, and scrolled through Lily's photos again. Every picture was a clue, a location tag, a timeline. Every caption revealed something. The cafe she loved, the friends she made, the studio where she worked. And then I saw it. A post tagged Maison Rivière, her fashion house. I looked it up. Their official site listed internship grants, bank partners, and sponsors. It wasn't just glamorous. It was corporate. And where there's money, there are systems. That night, I stayed up until 3 a.m., not out of jealousy. Out of curiosity. Because if they thought I didn't deserve help, maybe I'd just have to earn it. My way. The next morning, Mom was at the kitchen table again, humming. She had a new bracelet on, gold. Lily must have sent it. "Morning," I said. She looked up, startled. "Oh, you're still working nights?" "Yeah," I said softly. "Saving up? For what?" I smiled faintly. "You'll see." And she laughed like it was a joke. But I wasn't joking. That weekend, Dad asked if I wanted to join them on a video call with Lily. I said, sure. When the screen flickered on, Lily's face filled the frame, glowing, radiant. Behind her, the city sparkled through the window. Mom teared up. Dad beamed. And I just watched. "Anna, "How's the diner?" she asked, cheerful as ever. "It's fine," I said. She smiled sympathetically. "You'll find your path soon, I'm sure." That was the moment it clicked. It wasn't hatred I felt. It was a realization that to them I was a lesson, a reminder of what happens when you don't live up to their expectations, and I was done being that. When the call ended, I closed my laptop and sat in silence. The house around me was quiet again, full of ghosts of their laughter. And in that quiet, I made a promise, not to hurt them, but to show them what happens when the forgotten daughter stops waiting for permission. It started small. A few test logins, old email access, a bank notification from Lily's account that she'd left connected to our family plan. A few keystrokes later, and I knew everything. Balances, statements, wire transfers, not to steal. Not yet. Just to know, because knowledge is power. And power finally was mine. The irony? They'd trusted me more than they ever realized. Because when Lily left, Mom had said, "Make sure to keep an eye on her things while she's away." And I did. Every digital thing. By the time March rolled around, Lily's Paris fairy tale was in full swing. Magazine features, parties, champagne. She called less often, texted even less. Mom said she was just busy. Dad said she was chasing her dreams. And I just smiled, because I already knew how this story would turn out. Because dreams, especially ones built on unfairness, always cost something. And Lily's bill was coming due. 3 months after Lily left, the house felt like a shrine to her. Her room was untouched, her perfume still hanging in the air, her photos framed like trophies. Mom dusted them every Sunday. Dad sometimes sat in there at night, scrolling through her pictures with a proud smile. Meanwhile, I worked doubles at the diner. Sleep, work, repeat. Every day felt like the same gray loop, until one night, something changed. It started with a message, a ping on my phone. "Lily, hey, you up?" I hesitated. We hadn't talked in weeks. Me, "Yeah, what's up?" She replied almost instantly. "Lily, weird question. Do you know if Mom paid the rent on my old storage unit?" "Storage unit?" That was new. Me, "Didn't know you had one." Lily, "Yeah, I kept some boxes there before I left. I thought Dad was handling it, but I just got an overdue notice. I pictured it, the perfect daughter halfway across the world, scrambling to keep her image together. It shouldn't have thrilled me, but it did. Just a little. Me, "I'll check into it," I typed. And I did. That night, I logged into her old email, the one she'd asked me to help set up before leaving. Same password, same habits. Within minutes, I found it in the invoice from Blue Box Storage. Amount due, $200. I scrolled through older emails and froze. Inside those boxes weren't just old stuff. They were filled with clothes and jewelry from her sponsorship deals. Designer brands, sample pieces, limited editions, worth thousands. All gifted. All part of her glittering fake life. And then I saw it. A message from a Paris bank confirming an incoming wire transfer from Dad's account. Another $5,000. The note read, "For Lily's living expenses. Love, Mom and Dad." I sat there in the dark, the glow of the laptop screen cutting across my face. 5,000. While I was counting coins for gas. While Mom told me I didn't deserve help, something inside me cracked open. Quietly, dangerously. The next morning over breakfast, I brought it up. "Mom," I said softly, "did you send Lily more money?" She blinked, startled. "Of course. She's doing important work over there, Anna." "Important work," I repeated. "Modeling free handbags?" Mom frowned. "That's unkind." Dad lowered his paper. "Don't be bitter, Anna. You could have made something of yourself, too." The silence after that was heavy. I wanted to scream, "I'm trying," but I knew they wouldn't hear it. That night at the diner, Carla noticed. "You okay?" she asked. "I'm fine," I lied, because I wasn't fine. I was awake. Over the next few days, I started noticing patterns. Every time Lily posted something extravagant, there was a matching wire transfer. Money flowed from my parents' account like an open faucet. And I realized it wasn't just favoritism. It was dependency. They were addicted to her success. I decided to test something. I logged into Lily's email again, found her online banking portal. It was linked to a shared card Dad had co-signed. So I sent myself a small transfer. Just $50. A harmless test. It worked. I stared at the number in my account for a long time. It wasn't about the money. It was about control. For the first time, I held the lever, but I didn't use it yet. I waited, watched. 2 weeks later, another message from Lily came through. Lily, hey, weird favor. Wait, can you check the house for my birth certificate? I need it for visa stuff. I searched her drawer and found it easily. But as I slid it out, I saw something else. An envelope was tucked behind it. Another check. This one is for $10,000, made out to cash. Signed by Dad. I sat on her bed, the check trembling in my hands. Why cash? Why hide it? Then I flipped it over and saw the memo line. Deposit. Lily's emergency fund. Emergency fund. For what? A rainy day in Paris? I laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. Then something occurred to me. I took out my phone, snapped a picture of the check, and tucked it back exactly as I'd found it. That night, as I lay in bed, I couldn't stop thinking about it. The unfairness had always been obvious, but now it was documented. Proof. And proof can be powerful. By April, my parents were planning a trip to visit Lily in Paris. They talked about it constantly. The cafes they'd go to, the museums, the family reunion. Mom even said she'd bring her pearls for the dinners. I asked if I could come. Just to see my sister. Mom smiled sympathetically. Oh, honey, you can't afford it. Maybe next time. I went upstairs, shut my door, and stared at my reflection. She was right, I couldn't afford it. But I could change that. For the next 2 weeks, I studied every detail of Lily's digital life. Her passwords, her spending patterns, her social posts. I wasn't planning revenge yet. I was building a map, because every perfect facade has cracks, and I was finding hers. Then one morning, an email landed in Lily's inbox. Subject line, urgent. Account verification needed. It looked like a normal message from her bank. It wasn't. I'd sent it. A few clicks later, I had her verification code. And just like that, I was inside her account completely. The numbers shocked me. She wasn't just living off my parents. She'd drained her internship stipend, maxed out her credit card, and had less than 200 euros left. Behind the pretty photos, she was broke. I didn't know whether to pity her or smile. Maybe both. A week later, she posted a photo in front of the Eiffel Tower, captioned, "Success is the sweetest revenge." That word, revenge, hit me like a dare. That night, I moved money. Not all of it. Just enough. $5,000 and from her account to mine. The same amount Dad had sent her last month. When I woke up the next morning, my hands were shaking. Not from guilt. From adrenaline. For the first time, I didn't feel powerless. I felt seen, even if only by the shadow of what I'd done. 2 days later, Lily called. Her voice was tight, panicked. "Anna, something's wrong. My account's missing money." I kept my tone steady. "Maybe call your bank?" I did. They said it was a transfer to a linked account. "Do you think Dad did it?" I paused, letting the silence stretch. "Maybe," I said softly. "Maybe he's cutting you off," she gasped. "He wouldn't." "Wouldn't he?" I asked. "He did say you should start being more independent." The line went quiet. For once, Lily had no words. That night, I watched her social feed go still. No new photos, no champagne smiles, nothing. And that silence, that absence, was intoxicating. But revenge isn't clean. It seeps. It spreads. Because 2 days later, Mom called me crying. "Something's wrong with Lily's card," she said. "The bank froze her funds. She can't pay her rent." I forced concern into my voice. Oh no, what happened? They said there were suspicious transfers, Mom said. I told them we'd fix it. I wanted to stop then. To confess. But then I remembered the strawberries, the laughter, the words you don't deserve help, and suddenly I didn't feel sorry. Days passed. Mom and Dad scrambled to send Lily emergency money through another bank. I watched from the outside, calm, detached. It was like observing a play I'd already read the ending to. Then one evening, Lily called again, her voice brittle. Anna, I can't believe this. They froze my account again. I can't even buy groceries. I exhaled slowly. I'm sorry, I whispered. Please, she said. Can you ask Mom to send more? Mom said she's low on funds, I lied. They're paying off a loan. Her breath caught. What loan? That was the first fracture in her confidence. The first moment she realized maybe, just maybe, she wasn't untouchable. The next week, her posts changed. No designer brands. No bright filters. Just simple photos. Black coffee, rain on windows, lonely captions. And while part of me wanted to comfort her, another part whispered, let her feel it. Just for a while, but karma doesn't sleep. Because one night, Dad walked into my room holding a letter. Anna, he said, did you access Lily's email? My stomach tightened. What? He held up the printed page, a notice from the bank's fraud department. The IP address traces back here. To this house, my mouth went dry. He stared at me, eyes sharp. Tell me the truth. I tried to speak, but the words caught in my throat. Finally, I whispered, I just wanted to see how much you were giving her. Mom gasped. Anna, how could you? How could I? I snapped. You gave her everything. You left me nothing. The room exploded, years of silence unraveling in one awful moment. Dad shouted. Mom cried. And I just stood there, trembling, exhausted. When it was over, Dad said quietly, You're not part of this family anymore. That night, I packed a bag and left. No plan, no goodbye. Just me, my car, and 1,000 unshed tears. The rain hit the windshield in waves as I drove, headlights blurring into silver lines. For a moment, I thought about turning back. But then I remembered the check, the laughter, the words that had started it all. You don't deserve help. They were right. I didn't need help anymore. I'd learned to help myself, even if it cost me everything. The night I left home, the world felt wider than it ever had and emptier. The rain had stopped by dawn. I pulled into an old motel off Highway 17, the kind with flickering neon and thin walls. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at my phone. No messages, no calls. Not from Mom, not from Dad, not even from Lily. It should have hurt. It didn't. Instead, something colder settled in, a kind of clarity. They had cast me out. Good. Now I was free to move in ways they couldn't imagine. For weeks I worked quietly. Double shifts at the diner. Then, nights spent in the motel's humming dark. Screen light flickering on my face. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was building. First, I studied Lily's world, the fashion house, her sponsors, the glossy mirage she'd created. Behind the cameras, everything was debt and illusion. Her internship wasn't paid anymore. She'd been borrowing from her sponsors, promising exposure she couldn't deliver. And then I found it. The perfect thread to pull. An email chain between Lily and a brand representative. They'd sent her a $30,000 diamond necklace for a campaign shoot. She was supposed to return it after 2 weeks. She hadn't. I checked the date. 3 months overdue. I remembered her Instagram post. Shine like you own it. Now she would pay for that caption. I drafted an email to the brand from an anonymous address. To whom it may concern, you might want to check your shipment records for the necklace loaned to Lily Reed. It's currently being pawned under a false name at a Paris jeweler. A concerned source, I hit send. And just like that, I lit the first match. 2 days later, Lily's panic hit the family group chat like lightning. Lily, Someone accused me of theft. The brand thinks I sold their necklace. Mom, that's ridiculous. Dad, we'll call them immediately. Stay calm, I read every word in silence. She wasn't calm. I could picture her pacing her perfect Paris apartment, tears smudging her mascara. Maybe for the first time she was afraid. That night, I created a new social account, faceless, nameless, and started spreading screenshots of her unpaid bills, her lavish spending, her borrowed designer gifts. Nothing illegal, just true. By the end of the week, the whispers began. Fashion blogs picked it up. One headline read, "Rising star in scandal. Paris intern accused of misusing sponsorship funds." I watched it unfold like a movie. The comments turned brutal. Her followers dropped. Her world, that polished fantasy, started to fracture. Mom called me. For the first time in months. Her voice trembled. "Anna, have you seen what's happening to your sister?" I hesitated. "I saw. She's devastated. We're flying her home." I swallowed the laughter rising in my throat. Home. Of course they were. They always came running when she fell. But this time, the fall wouldn't stop at the ground. When they brought her back, the house turned cold again. I knew because I drove past one night just to see. Through the living room window, I saw them huddled together, lights dimmed. Lily's head on Mom's shoulder. Dad pacing. I parked across the street, unseen, and whispered to myself, "Now you understand." Still, revenge isn't about watching someone suffer. It's about balance. And mine wasn't even yet, so I took the final step. Using the account access I still had, I wired the rest of her Paris stipend, the one Dad had transferred months ago, not to myself, but to a charity fund in her name. Lily Reed International Women's Scholarship, a perfect irony. The girl who had everything would now donate it all. Then I deleted the trail. Every login. Every trace, by the time she realized it was too late. The next week she called me. Not through text. Not through Mom. Directly. Her voice was quieter than I'd ever heard. "Anna, I don't know what happened, but everything's gone. My money, my reputation, everything." I didn't answer right away. I wanted to hear her breathe. To feel the silence between us fill with all the things we'd never said. Then softly I said, "Now you know what it feels like to start from nothing." She didn't speak. But I heard it, the catch in her breath. The realization, the smallest tremor of understanding. "I'm sorry," she whispered. It wasn't enough, but it was something. A few days later, Mom called again. "She's moving back in for a while," she said. "She needs time." I almost smiled. Time was exactly what she'd taken from me. Years of being the shadow behind her spotlight. But I didn't argue. I told Mom I was doing fine. And for once, it was true. Because while they were patching their perfect daughter back together, I was moving forward. I got a new apartment. Enrolled in night classes for nursing again. Paid every fee with cash I'd earned. Not taken. Earned. And every now and then, I'd check the scholarship fund online. There it was. Lily Reed Women's Scholarship. Fully active. Funding girls who actually needed it. A poetic kind of justice. One night, months later, Lily showed up at my door. No makeup, no designer clothes. Just her. Smaller, quieter. She looked at me for a long time before speaking. "I think I know what you did," she said softly. I didn't deny it. "Do you hate me for it?" I asked. She shook her head. "No, I think I deserved it." We stood there in silence. Two sisters finally stripped of envy and illusion. Just human again. Before she left, she said something that stuck with me. "Paris taught me style. You taught me truth." Then she smiled. Faintly, brokenly, and walked away. That was the last time we spoke for a long while. But it was enough. Because revenge wasn't about ruining her life. It was about reclaiming mine. And when I lay down that night for the first time in years, I felt light. Not happy, not yet, but free. Because sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't taking what they owe you. It's watching them learn the value of what they stole. 6 months later, the world was quiet again. No shouting, no envy, no pretending, just me, my small apartment, and peace. The mornings began with coffee and the soft hum of city traffic outside my window. I'd pull on my scrubs, tie my hair back, and head to the hospital. Not glamorous, not Paris, but real. And every night when I walked past the mirror in the hallway, I'd see someone I hadn't seen in years. Someone whole. Mom calls sometimes now. Her tone had softened. No comparisons, no judgment, just small talk. How's work? Are you eating well? Little things that once would have meant nothing. Now they meant everything. As for Lily, she stayed quiet for a while. Then one day a letter arrived, no return address. Inside was a photo, her in a small classroom teaching art to kids. On the back, in her neat handwriting, it said, "For once, I'm doing something that doesn't need a filter. Thank you, Anna." I stared at that photo for a long time. Then I pinned it on my wall, because in the end, this story wasn't about money. Or even fairness. It was about balance. We both lost something. But maybe we both found something too. She found humility. I found strength. And maybe, just maybe, that was the kind of justice life meant all along. Now, when people ask about my family, I don't flinch. I just smile and say, they taught me that love isn't about what you give. It's about what you learn to take back. Then I clock in, tie my mask, and step into the bright, sterile light, ready to heal others because I finally healed myself. Revenge gave me power, but forgiveness gave me peace. And that, after everything, was the ending I didn't know I was writing.